Hello. What follows is not a story told by a single voice. It is a cold record of what many eyes now see at the same time. It is not emotional. It is not dramatic in the usual sense. It is a calm description of a dangerous moment that has already begun. In darkened command centers across the world, the same images glow on massive screens. The rooms are silent except for the soft hum of machines and the quiet footsteps of officers moving between desks. There are no sirens, no shouting, no panic, only calculation. Satellite feeds scroll slowly. Maps refresh in real time. Data streams update every second. Red and amber indicators glow gently like warning embers under thick glass. Each light represents a system that is no longer resting, but waiting. In one capital, senior defense analysts sit in rows beneath a curved wall of screens. Some are looking at movement at sea. Others track airspace changes. Some watch long-range systems that never sleep. Each analyst sees only one piece, yet all pieces now move in the same direction. This is not a simulation. This is not an exercise. This is live reality. In another capital, thousands of miles away, the same rhythm unfolds. New data arrives. Old expectations die quietly. Restricted briefings are updated line by line. Officers do not speak in full sentences anymore. They exchange numbers, timing windows, coordinates that do not appear on public maps. The language has become compressed, because time itself is now compressed. What began as limited, deniable movement is no longer deniable. What once lived inside intelligence cables has moved into open strategic posture. Forces have shifted. Airspace has hardened. Seas have become crowded with silent watchers. Missile units have stepped out of shadow and into readiness. No leader has made a public declaration. No parliament has voted for war. Yet the system that exists beneath politics is now awake. This system does not wait for speeches. Inside sealed rooms, military planners now work under a new assumption. The assumption is simple and brutal. Hesitation creates vulnerability. Every delay opens space for surprise. Every pause increases exposure. The logic of deterrence begins to replace the language of diplomacy. Not because leaders desire war, but because the machines that guard peace only understand readiness and response.
Planners speak of narrowing reaction windows. A reaction window is the amount of time left to decide when information arrives. That window is shrinking. Artificial intelligence systems now filter signals faster than human teams once could. Calculations that once took hours now take seconds. Political leaders still move at a human pace. The machines do not. In this environment, restraint becomes fragile. Across alliance networks, coordination tightens. The role of NATO unfolds through layers of quiet movement rather than loud declarations. Defensive frameworks adjust. Advisory groups shift location. Stabilization planning updates daily. Readiness levels are reviewed not monthly, not weekly, but by the hour. Each movement is small in isolation. Together, they change a strategic balance. Public language calls these actions defensive. Behind closed doors, planners know something deeper is happening. Every defensive step alters the perception of threat on the other side. Protection, when viewed from afar, can look like preparation. Support, when viewed through the lens of fear, can look like encirclement. This is how misunderstanding grows heavy. At the same time, emergency diplomacy accelerates through the channels of the United Nations. The public sees only fragments. A press statement, a delayed vote, a carefully neutral phrase about grave concern. What remains unseen are the closed rooms, the endless draft resolutions, the private arguments over wording that may calm one side while angering another. Humanitarian corridors are discussed. Monitoring missions are proposed. Observation teams are offered. Each proposal carries moral weight. None carries physical force strong enough to stop nuclear-armed states once their readiness systems reach full saturation. Diplomacy can slow escalation. It cannot physically restrain it. Across multiple regions, missile forces transition quietly into elevated alert status. The language used is technical and dull: posture adjustment, readiness enhancement, operational alignment. In reality, this means systems that were once locked behind procedure are now within immediate reach of activation. Strategic bomber wings reposition to new airfields. Some move closer, some move farther away. All movements are intentional, none are accidental. Air defense grids expand their engagement zones. Radar horizons extend farther. Identification thresholds are tightened. Civilian aviation patterns adjust without public explanation. International flight paths reroute around invisible corridors of rising risk. No single action confirms an intention to initiate war. Together, they confirm something else: a shared fear that war could be forced through misinterpretation. In this phase of great power tension, certainty becomes dangerous. Every side believes it is acting defensively. Every side believes the other is testing limits. Every side tells its own population that it seeks stability. Every side quietly prepares for instability. This contradiction is the core engine of modern confrontation. The video language of crisis has changed in this century. There are no mass mobilizations shown on the streets, no dramatic convoys rolling through public squares. Instead, the transformation occurs through code updates, satellite retasking, encrypted data bursts, and silent shift in posture that never appear on evening news broadcasts until long after they have already shaped reality. Algorithms now react faster than diplomats. Sensors see farther than human intelligence ever could. Early warning systems scan the heavens every second without fatigue. Command and control networks operate at a speed that compresses political decision-making into impossible time frames. Leaders still speak of red lines, but the systems beneath them no longer wait for those lines to be crossed in public. Inside sealed briefing rooms, large digital maps glow with layered data. On one layer, troop movements. On another, naval deployments. On another, missile readiness states. On another, cyber activity peaks. Each layer intersects with the others. Risk multiplies where they overlap. Pressure does not rise evenly. It surges in localized zones where proximity, history, and misreading collide. In these zones, junior commanders carry enormous responsibility. A radar signature misread, a drone crossing the wrong invisible boundary, a fire control radar illuminated for testing and interpreted as targeting. Each moment carries the weight of irreversible escalation. The language of command changes in these zones. It grows shorter, more procedural, less human. The goal is clarity. Yet clarity itself becomes a weapon when clarity is misinterpreted. In parallel, political leaders continue to speak to their publics in controlled tones. They use phrases like monitoring closely, urging restraint, and maintaining readiness. These words are chosen carefully to calm markets and avoid panic. What is not said is that planners no longer measure time in days or weeks. They measure time in minutes and seconds. Financial markets feel the tremor without seeing the source. Energy prices fluctuate sharply. Shipping insurance rates spike overnight. Supply chains tighten silently. These secondary effects ripple outward, touching lives far removed from the command centers where the original calculations unfold. In private advisory sessions, strategic theorists speak in colder terms. They talk about credibility, about signaling, about the dangers of appearing weak during threshold transitions. They reference past crises where hesitation invited opportunism. They warn that deterrence only functions when it is believed without doubt. Yet belief itself is unstable under fear. The logic of mutual restraint demands that each side trust the other not to exploit vulnerability. But this trust now exists only in theory. In practice, each side is bound to its own readiness systems, alliance commitments, and domestic political pressures. No leader acts alone. Every leader is surrounded by institutions that reward caution in public and speed in private. This is the architecture of modern standoff. Across social media and independent information channels, fragments leak. Amateur analysts redraw maps. Retired officers speculate. Markets react to rumors rather than facts. The public senses danger through economic stress, through rising anxiety, through a constant low-level awareness that something large is moving beneath the surface. Yet no single dramatic event confirms that sense. This waiting becomes the dominant emotion of the era. Waiting without knowing. Waiting without control. Waiting while systems prepare automatically in the background. Inside one intelligence center, a senior officer reviews a timeline projection. It shows not events, but decision windows. It marks points where misalignment could trigger rapid escalation. These windows narrow as the readiness level rises, and as forces move closer to direct contact, each adjustment tightens the web. In another center, planners run repeated simulations. Each simulation assumes both rational behavior and worst-case error. The results converge on the same conclusion. Once alert saturation is reached on both sides, the margin for recovery shrinks close to zero. This does not mean war becomes inevitable. It means war becomes easier to start by accident than prevent by design.